intro song.
Who are on the road?
Let people come in and we'll
Must have
start.
a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, 'cause their father's hell did slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they fix, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you.
I always like to share like a 70s song or something cool for you young girls to hear good music. Okay. So Zoom, can someone please unmute and let me know if you were able to hear the song and my voice right now?
I
I
could,
can hear
Jen.
you.
I can hear
I can
you.
hear you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. You can mute. Y'all have this paper, hopefully, on your desk. These came from UT, and I don't know if it is a great program. I'm actually going to put Ella in the program for entering first grade to give her something to do. But it's a great program. It's from UT and it's free. So Zoom, we probably can't do that, but we probably have someone here that'll bring them back. Try to give it out to parents. Give these kids an opportunity. The school age program really is, and the pre-K program, if you're working in those. I also want to let the Zoomers know that we do, at the end of this, I get a log of when you logged in and when you logged out. No worries if you get kicked off and you have to sign back in and all that stuff. Your name is still going to be there. So don't worry about sending me anything to let you know, let me know that you're on Zoom, or you guys don't have to worry about anything that are live. The only time I need to know is if someone watches the recording after today. Then I would have to know so I could put credit in for you. So if you have anyone, you pass the word along that does want to watch the recording next week, I'll have it up by next week. They have to text me or message me through GroupMe and say, hey, I just watched it. I'll give them about a 3 or 4 question quiz, nothing hard, just so we have proof. I just always like to cover myself. All right. Okay, let's get started. Woo. All right, this is pre-literacy for littles, and really the reason we're doing this is because so many people, when going through the training hours, need pre-literacy. Lots of you guys have done the answering questions on, say it again, answering questions on Pro Solutions. So some of you just need 2 hours, some of you have your hours taken care of. But for the ones who haven't done the answering questions, we are going to make this a 3-hour training. And I have a great way to make it 3 hours. This video lasts about an hour and 15 minutes, but there's going to be a lot of things that when we sign off that you guys can do on your own to get your 3 hours. Okay? Because I'm trying to do the right thing. All right. Okay, literacy literally means can you read or write? So when they're talking about literacy, we're literacy focused. It's just can you read or write? It can be a scary word, or it used to be. To me, when I was young, and working with other programs, there was such a push, and I just thought it was so hard. But literally, it's just can you read or write? So there's new stuff in here. Tennessee developed something called the Literacy Success Act like 2 years ago, but it's still being implemented. And they did this because basically, to make it make sense, if you have 100 third graders at your hometown school, 33 of those third graders were not reading or writing proficiently. So, Tennessee, for once, is ahead of the game, and they have really made some big changes. And the way I heard about the way this all started was Ella's kindergarten teacher. I was like, "What are you doing to teach my kid who, we're very developmentally appropriate with Ella. She had exposure, but we never sat down and said, this is A, this is a B, write it." I said, "How are you doing this?" And she said, "Oh, it's called the science of reading." And that's the first time I heard about this. So after researching it, this is all the facts on it. And the reason why is you learn to read until you're in third grade, and then you have to read to learn. So if you cannot read well at third grade, you're not going to be learning as you should, Why though does it matter to us? Most of you guys already know, but it's because you're the key. And it's great because we have people that are, these are Tennessee politicians. I know not all of them get it, but here are two quotes from some Tennessee politicians over this Literacy Act. 90%, this is by Tennessee Education Committee, which makes me so excited. 90% of the brain develops before age 5. We all know that. We are now depending on our early childhood educators to set these children up for reading. We must get the word out to this community on appropriate ways to ensure children become literate. Now, you're going to know why it's so important that we know what the people that are passing this act knows. And of course, we've got an education chair, a man in Tennessee, who said, birth is when we need to start helping our kids, not when they enter elementary school. So it is, no. It is, it's definitely out there. And we've got some men politicians in Tennessee that are noticing early childhood. So this is what happened. Mississippi used to be way down with us in literacy rates. They were at the bottom like Tennessee. Well, they, between 2013 and 2019, their literacy rates rose dramatically. So it said in the paper that Tennessee was like, "Oh man, now we're even lower because Mississippi's jumped up higher." So let's look at what they've done, because it was, even for the marginalized students, their literacy rates grew so high. So now Tennessee is modeling Mississippi under that 2021 law, that, how we go, "Oh, well, math is the priority now and reasoning is the priority." We're back to literacy in Tennessee. So they're prioritizing reading now over anything else in grades K through 3. The teachers are having to be trained on the science of reading, phonics only. There's more to it than just phonics, believe it or not. Now this is controversial. They are now requiring third graders to pass a state reading test before they can get promoted. So people are pitching fits. Parents, even educators, are pitching fits about it. But the cool thing is where Mississippi did just that, Tennessee has added in all of this stuff, like, if you are not below 30% delayed in other areas, then you can just choose to go to summer school and we'll pass you. If you're delayed in other areas and reading, you could choose to do summer school with your child and then have a tutor through 4th grade, or be held back. So they're, and like dyslexia, things like that, that is all different. This is for your children without any diagnosis.
Did this come about after COVID, or has this been
So COVID-19, right? December 19. So it was like, yeah, but barely. I mean, it was when we were going through all the drama. But heck yeah, my kid did, and I'm not going to talk about him, but because I talk about him all day. But he's behind. I mean, like it's a big deal. We're struggling.
Well, the kids that are in third grade now, like Harper,
Yeah.
that group has, they did not experience a normal kindergarten year. So when you think about it like that, like like fourth grade currently right now, kids that are in fourth grade and up are the only kids that experience a normal like kindergarten year and then so on.
It's like the effects are not just our immune systems are down. And we're going to continue to see them for a long time. Like Tara's saying, how old are those kids now? They're in third grade.
No.
They're in that grade that matters. Like you're going to see throughout this training so much stuff about third grade. And those kids are at a huge disadvantage. So what this science of reading thing is that Tennessee has taken on, it's all phonics based. There is no more cueing like pictures. We're going to get into that. No more memorization. This is the cool thing. By August 2023, which is going to be this kindergarten year, all teachers have to have, by that day, a literacy class, not a literacy training, a true class teaching them the science of reading. Obviously, Ella's kindergarten teacher has already taken that. They are all science of reading now. So we're going to see after, let me think here, not your pre-K class now. Oh yeah, your pre-K class now is going to be going into this, and then every year after. And you know, this is just like I was saying with Britain. You know, the principal of the school called me and said, yeah, I know he's got A's and B's and few C's, but the kid can't understand reading. And this is why, and honestly, until just now, after doing all these trainings, I did not understand until now. Because Britain was reading by pictures and memorization, not by phonics. And he was born in 2008. So, you know, it's still going on in a lot of places. All right, let's watch this little video on the literacy success.
Reading is the foundation for all learning, and reading proficiently by third grade is essential for every Tennessee student to succeed in life.
And it's important for every child before they go past third grade so they can read, so then they can tackle the other courses and be proficient in that. If not, it's a struggle. And so that's what this literacy bill is about, trying to get our state to a point where not only our universities are teaching future teachers how to teach literacy properly, but also down the line from the universities to our K through 8 and our teachers, so that our students will improve. It's that important. So that's what we're trying to do.
The Tennessee Literacy Success Act strengthens how Tennessee will address this literacy crisis with urgency and purpose. First, every school district must use phonics-based literacy skills to teach reading. Phonics-based literacy is an effective method of teaching students to read using the sound of letters. Second, every school district must have a plan to provide foundational literacy skills instruction and supports to students needing extra help. Third, current and future Tennessee educators must receive training and resources on literacy instruction to ensure they are prepared to teach students to read. Lastly, school districts will have a universal reading screener 3 times each year for all students in kindergarten through third grade to identify early on which students are experiencing reading challenges and then provide them the needed support.
So this is the part that helped me understand what that principal, who is now like Miss Rose. Do any of you guys know Miss Rose that used to be? she's doing something really big right now. Like she's designing curriculum for the schools. Heck, she might be the one that pushed it through, but she's awesome. Um, so the history of reading, Dick and Jane, right? We've all seen these Dick and Jane books. Actually, we're not to Dick and Jane yet. This is backward. Mid 1800s. So to put that in perspective, that would be your great grandparents. Is that about right? Great. Well, that was a long darn time ago, right? I don't do well with, you know, the Dick and Jane. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's when it all started. So in the mid 1800s until 1950, they weren't doing Dick and Jane. They were doing to where they would teach the children. Well, first of all, these kids were just coming out of home learning and going into an actual schoolhouse. And when they did that, what the teachers were doing is they were teaching them to memorize words. They were doing sight words, but they were also following that up with how to sound that word out and teaching them phonics. Pretty much exactly what Tennessee's doing now, except reversed. Now phonics comes first, and then we can memorize to make accuracy better. So then in the 50s, the Dick and Jane books came out, that whole word approach. And basically, it's where phonics was starting to get out the way, and we were using repetitive. I'm showing you the very end of this book for the young ones who don't know. So what they did, what they did is just repetitive words. Like you saw play on each page, and kids would memorize those words. And that's when we started trending into the 3 cueing system of reading, which really messed us up. So phonics was going away. We were looking at whole word approach. So good readers at this point, they just guessed based on techniques and experiences and conceptual ideas, just like the bad readers do now. It's so mind-blowing that this happened. Like, seriously. So phonics were going out. All right. And so as the child developed reading skill and speed, he uses fewer graphic cues, is what they were saying. But it didn't work out that way. There were 3 ways that you learn to read. Does it make sense? Does it look right? Does it sound right? There were no phonics. This is truly so many examples of this so you guys can understand. But this guy, Goodman was his name, his proposal, and it wasn't scientific, it wasn't observation based, it was just this new approach coupled with the Dick and Jane books, and American schools took hold. And so this is how it goes, okay? The reason a lot of people believed in it is because of all the homonyms in English, right? The 222, right? How can you explain that to a 5-year-old? Bare necessities, or is it BEAR necessities? Please buy more milk. Like, it's English language is really complicated. And so that's really the reason they bought into it so much. The strategies, I already told you that, but so what they did is they taught children to memorize the words look and at, okay? And then the book would say, cover the word caterpillar with a piece of paper or a tape, and then have the child read it without the caterpillar word. Look at the caterpillar. So if you don't know the word, you look at the picture, okay? And this is a great example that someone observed. there was a fox and a bear in a picture on a book. All right, you got your fox here and your bear here. The word down below, look at the bear. The word was bear. And the teacher said, look at the first letter in the word. It's a B. So, is it a fox or a bear? And the children would guess bear because they saw the letter B. It's like, what? And then this guy came along, thank gosh, Goldberg. This girl came along and decided that she was going to experiment with it. She wanted to be the best teacher ever. And so she had some students using this 3 cueing system, and then she had some using phonics. All right. And when the year was over, she said that she had felt like she had damaged the kids with the 3 cueing system. She could never get them to stop looking at the pictures. And it's so funny because I see that now. Like Ella, I swear, I'll say, read this. She always sounds it out. But with Britton and Kennedy, they always guessed the word. And I would say, sound it out, go by the letters. But they had been taught to guess the word rather than sound it out. So, yeah.
That's basically how I was taught.
Oh, yeah. Most of us.
Yeah, because I went into Project Read back when I was in my early 20s
Uh-huh. I'm gonna
for testing. And it turned out when I went in, and the lady was surprised, I went in, I tested at a 3rd grade level in reading. Okay, but I tested psychologically, I tested as a junior in college.
Wow.
Yeah. But my reading was 3rd grade, which I went up a bunch of levels doing this.
I think we see so many times that, and you're going to see later, I'll just go ahead and say it now because you brought that up. Children that had, books in their house, the parents used good vocabulary, those kids could do pretty well with that 3 cueing system. It was the kiddos that didn't have a literacy rich environment and that support at home, it didn't work, so but these changes are going to hopefully make it work. So Goldberg, after all this is crazy, she found all this scientific evidence out there saying cueing was harmful. But the crazy thing is that in all of her teaching at the university, being trained to be a teacher, it was never brought up, So it's just like there's such a disconnect. Yeah, anyway, this,
Just going from Hunter to Maddie,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Hunter. He did the Cat in the Hat, and y'all remember, did any of y'all, that's how they taught, and they taught with comics. And it was like a whole program, and I don't know, that they would send the little reading books home and all that stuff. Well, by the time Maddie got there, they weren't teaching phonics. You would think it would have been the other way around.
Yeah, well, Tennessee's usually always the last. And that it's cool because we're finally not the last. The word is just coming out. All the teachers are just getting trained. Everybody's going to be trained by 2023 this year. But yeah, I know Britton was a disaster. And so he was in kindergarten 2012, 13. So that was just like 10 years ago that we were doing this. But the examples go on and on and on. And this one is a really good one. This is him at age 93. So all this science stuff came out. They were proven that cueing is harmful. They went in to interview him. Okay. And they asked, okay, now we have all this cognitive science research saying that your system has decreased literacy rates. Bad, He says he still doesn't believe accurate word recognition is necessary for reading comprehension. He says, I don't teach word recognition. I teach people to make sense of language, and learning the words is incidental to that. he brought up this example, the guy interviewing. So, a child who comes to the word horse and says pony instead because of the picture, his argument is that a child is going to understand the meaning of the story because horse and pony are the same concept. The dude interviewing says, wait. A pony is not the same thing as a horse. Don't you want to make sure that when a child is learning to read, he understands PONY says pony and not horse? But do you guys get what he was saying? Like, horse or pony, who cares what it really spells?
So we're about understanding
How?
what's reading versus being able to do it.
Yeah,
That's the farmer.
right. Ask the farmer. A horse and a pony are not the same thing. But this is literally just blow my mind. It just shows how like someone with power can say something and like everybody just starts following and believes it. But finally we've smartened up.
Well, it's kind of like, I mean, they're telling us, well, they've told us for 15 years to label everything. So, you know, you put the word with the picture so the child recognizes where it goes, but at the same time,
Yes.
I mean, it's just memory. I mean,
Yes.
they're not really learning that blocks, you know, it's just that recognition.
Yeah. I mean, really that whole coupling that they required us to do a long time ago, picture and words, I mean, that's pretty much this because they were just learning like the blocks, that's what that word is, and memorizing that word as a whole. Yeah, he says the purpose is not to learn words, the purpose is to make sense of it. And he does not believe in dyslexia or any reading conditions and things like that. And whatever. So this was really cool. Countries like Finland, they are like the country for education. Everything is high. They score so high on everything. They don't start teaching reading until the students are 7. And I just find it funny because that's when a child's brain at the end of 6 and 7 is truly ready to comprehend things such as reading. But it's so funny that we are teaching this stuff, at 3 and 4, and by the time they're out of kindergarten, they should know how to read, and we score horrible on tests. Yet Finland is not doing it until the kids are 7 and their scores are out the roof, So we're just so behind in the United States. And again, I've already went over that. The home life is a big deal. Like the children who don't have that exposure have to have phonics. Okay, so now we know. From infancy to 2nd grade, the science of reading has better outcomes than any other method used so far. The goal in grade K through 1 with the science of reading, this new system that's fixing to start happening August 2023, or already has, is to help children master, phonemic, am I saying that right? Phonemic awareness. And we're going to look at what that is. And that, that's just like if they're like, that is what's the most important, is that when you leave kindergarten, you know everything about phonemic awareness. How does it relate to KKDC? We all know this, most of us, that school readiness begins at infancy. I've heard many times, Melissa, Tara, people saying, okay, getting the infant class on the same page as the preschool class, as the pre-K, because that's what we do. We work together from babies to pre-K to prepare kids for school. And this is really neat. I tried to get her to do it for this training, but she's like, girl, I'm so busy, I can't. A kindergarten teacher from Kingston, and I know everybody's not from Kingston, but she's going to sit down with me over the summer. We go way back, and tell me, I'm going to take notes, exactly what's happening when they hit kindergarten. because seriously, the papers Ella was bringing home, I was like, what is this? Like I was tracing A's and B's. She's making slant lines. I mean, it has completely changed in the past 10 years. But and then I'm going to have all of that for August or September training. I'll have my sheet from her. She did offer to come, but I was like, let's just keep it like at this right now, because the problem is we got Athens, we got Madisonville, Wartburg. Even though it's the state of Tennessee, schools are different, as we know. So I think everyone should talk to the kindergartens. Plus, DHS is like heart throbbing when we collaborate with our local schools.
With the lines, the theory that I've been told behind that is
Yeah.
if they can't go from left to right, then they're never gonna be able to read. Just like crossing their midline, if they can't cross their midline, then they're gonna struggle with reading.
Mm,
It's called tracking.
tracking.
I use it with the kids that don't know how to write the letter. They need to do those signs before they.
Yeah, and like the.
Dude, they said that's called tracking,
We used
guys.
to call the upstairs, the downstairs, the basement, as far as, cause that's something that with Kindle, I know was a big push, and Reed does the same thing. But Harper, where they had it was the COVID
Yeah.
or whatever, she still struggles with that as far as making the letters like the current, when you're looking at manuscript paper, you start at the top line and you go down and then you make an R or whatever. Kindle and Reed do that phenomenally. I can't say it, they do it great. But Harper still struggles with that. Because I guess the extra time wasn't put into the whole, like, forming the letters, not just, let's write it and get it over with.
Well, and still, I mean, if you'll notice, not necessarily just the younger ones that are learning, but even some of the older ones. You can watch the way they, like, the whole left to right concept is like, it was not even there to begin with. It's like, when there are even letters or numbers, it's like, okay, I don't know anybody that's.
Right.
Every time I do a worksheet, I say, how do we do the worksheet? Left to right, top to, we do it, left to right, top to bottom.
And that's so important, those things.
If you do activities with them where they're having to, cross over.
Yes.
You start that in the 2s and 3s, and then it helps them when they get to preschool.
And that's a great example.
Their milk, on the left side, I don't know, but typically their milk's right here, they're gonna go for that, cause that's easiest. But that one's there, so they're having to cross over to get their cup.
Ooh. So putting the milk on the side that they typically,
If they're right-handed, I
Tara's
guess it'd be
saying,
opposite if they're left-handed.
if they're right-handed, you would put their milk where it's not natural to reach over to get, because that is what the twos need to do to prepare for reading and for writing. Yeah. And then if they're left-handed, you do the opposite. But that's a great activity. Y'all should write that down. And even paint cups, or whatever. Being intentional in doing that.
Yeah, one of the first things, Kendall had to do physical therapy, at 2, because she wasn't walking yet, and something that I thought was super silly was the lady would do bubbles, and she'd catch them on the wand, but she would make her reach, okay, now go this way to get the bubble, go this way to get the bubble, doing it different directions to get all those muscles working, not just what's the most convenient. Because the most convenient would be to just pop it with your finger.
So there's so much that we need to know like that, muscle development and things as that. She was saying that Kendall in therapy, at first Tara was like, what in the world is she doing? But having Kendall reach this way and this way with the bubble seems like nothing to us, but it's a really big deal once you get to looking at it. This is infant toddler, the stuff that we were just talking about. Just reading aloud really is one of the best things you can do for infants and toddlers. That does so much because, like Melissa, you were saying, y'all were talking about left to right, up to down. When we're reading all the time, it helps them realize that book is to be held right side up. We turn the pages one at a time. We read the lines of words. That stuff is what helps these younger kids. phonological awareness, the rhyming, the fact that sentences are made up of different parts of syllables. Those basic things are what infant and toddlers need to start doing for that. Okay. And then for the activities, playing peekaboo, patty cake, strong rhymes, anything that rhymes really helps them. Talking and singing, as always, repeating sounds a baby makes, even like just the most basic, when a baby says "ga" and you say "ga, ga, ga," things we don't even think matter is their success in third grade. Pointing to the objects and naming them, that teaches them that spoken word and object connect. And then, this is one that you'll find in any literacy assessment out there, that when you're in an infant and toddler room and a child says bite, bite, that you say, you are hungry for food. And you're extending what they're saying and giving them a better vocabulary. Y'all all know when a child's like, read this book again, 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 again. That is so important that you do that. And then looking at preschool, teaching the child meaning of new words is a huge predictor for success in reading. Saying the names of the things around the house, things that we don't think about. Playing with words, that's a huge deal. Who would think that Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers would be such a huge part doing that daily, those funny word things, tongue twisters of a child's future reading. One of the number one things you'll see, and I know you guys have seen 100 times and we'll see soon, it is imperative that they learn this for kindergarten, is 2 to 3 directions. Like, take your book, put it on the shelf, and then turn out the light. That is what kindergarten teachers need us to teach, is following directions. Helping children learn to this is for preschool children learning to recognize their name in print, displaying their name in special places. And I wanted to say, we see all these weird rules for DHS and for assessments, and you're going to see it throughout here as well, because everything that they do is based on some study. They don't just say, I think they should just put the kids' names all around the room. It's because it leads to success in kindergarten, displaying their names throughout the room, more than one place. And then, oh, don't do that. So this is, I hate this little bar, but I can't really make it go away. Before kindergarten, they should, with the new literacy stuff, understanding and following oral directions. Boom, what we just talked about. Number one. The number two, using new words and longer sentences. Their vocabulary is able to be grown. Recognizing beginning sounds of words and sounds that rhyme. Listening carefully when books are read. Do they sit and listen to a book? I mean, so much social, emotional stuff in here. Connecting what happens in a book to life. It's just interesting. These skills are so deep, yet we are taught to, let's make circles. Yet connecting what happens in a book to life and experience is so critical, So if you want to snapshot this, asking questions about a book, that's a huge skill. Knowing pictures cannot be read, but print can. And that is something I've seen come to life so many times at about age, 2.5 to 3.5, depending on development. They still don't understand that words are the thing that are being read. Some of them still, and most of them, think that you are reading a picture, that the words you're saying is coming from the picture of the cow, not the little symbols everywhere. That brain's so weird.
Hey, Jen, this is random, but talking about this made me think about something we did in kindergarten. We used to have to hold a book like we were, like a teacher, you would be the teacher, and you'd hold a book open, and you'd have to reach over, and you'd have to show the class, point to the picture, and point to the words. And you had to point to where the words started, or else she would be like, no, that is words, but that's not where our words start.
While you were in front of the
Part of the
class.
class, like we were the teacher, we had to hold it, because I remember doing this. Where is
Whoa.
my picture? You point to the picture. Now, where is my words? That's not the first word, so you need to point at the first word. Where does the word start?
Wow.
And I remember doing that, and like now that we're talking about it, it like registers why
I know.
she had each of us doing that. I mean, you didn't read. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you would just sit and we would point this out, and then we'd go over the book or whatever. But
You probably had a good kindergarten teacher.
Yes, yeah. But I thought I was being the teacher.
Yeah.
I was teaching them where.
That's a
that
good
was.
kindergarten teacher.
Yeah. So.
Bree was just saying that when she was in kindergarten, she remembers it all is coming back, that her teacher would have them get in front of the class, so you're opposite directions, hold a book up like a teacher, and have her point to the first word. And now she's like, okay, I get why she did that. It's all really deep and intentional. And if you can find an intentional teacher like that, because Bree said she felt so important, she was getting to be the teacher, so she listened, and you still remember it because it was
and
so
I hadn't thought about it
meaningful.
until we were kind of going over and I was trying to reflect, and then you were talking some of this stuff. I was like, I remember doing that.
How old are you?
I'm 25, so 20 years ago.
20 years ago, and she still remembers it. Yes, Whitney. Did you raise your hand?
Yes.
Okay.
So, like, you said something earlier about sitting and reading, like, with infants, like, it starts with the infants, like, when you're reading and stuff. I have babies in my class, and some are mobile, some are not. But you would be amazed at how quick, when you sit down, even if it's just a couple, they will literally crawl over to me and sit with me and get interested in that book. I was
Wow.
reading to one of my babies yesterday before he left, and he was literally, focused on me just reading to him. Even though he may not comprehend what I'm reading, he was still focused on looking at the pictures and stuff. So,
What age?
I work with 6 weeks to 30 months.
So you're saying like under one,
Yes.
children under one that can't even walk yet and are just scooting. When Ashley brings a book out, they've already you've conditioned them to know, oh, when my teacher gets that out, it's going to be a great time. They've already got a great association with books. So kindergarten focus with the science of reading. Most important things to teach pre-K children to support them in the science of reading. Phonological awareness. So we heard that by the time they're done with kindergarten, they need to master phonological awareness. And we need to start that support. Yeah.
We had some good curriculum in the past, but it did not teach phonics. And
Really?
so, yeah, and it's been, I guess, 2 years now we've been doing backup, but that's what they focus on.
Wow.
When they start with blend versus the curriculum we used before, we implement at the end.
Hey, guys.
And just learning all this, and still need to learn more about it. I don't know why the school systems aren't using this more.
Well,
Because when
Kingston
I have
is
to get
call
exactly
your
the blend, the way
schools.
that they go, as long as things are done, they're done.
Because it drives me crazy when they do the numbers from to top.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers say, oh, it's okay, they're gonna learn later. I said, no, the way you learn the first time, the first years, is the way that you're gonna do it your whole life.
Yeah.
Because I can see with my kids, the middle one didn't have good teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Vivian's I wanted to say what they were saying first to Zoom. Kitty Corner's curriculum, 2 or 3 years ago, was not teaching phonics. And so they did switch to Abeka because it's phonics based. So it's really cool to know that we're seeing this in our curriculums. And Viv saying she's at an advantage because she is seeing K through 3rd grade, right? and seeing how these children are doing different things. And it does differ based upon which kindergarten teacher, and trying to make that right. Uh-oh, I have 3 chats. Oh. The midline at lunch is why children drink the wrong milk. They reach and not cross. That's from Bambi. So teach them, don't fuss at them. It's a milestone. Nice.
And boys usually have a hard time. Little girls, the way our brains work is we typically master that headline before boys do. And so usually it is the boys, if you sit and watch, that more likely you're gonna take somebody else's milk, whatever's close.
Oh. Oh my gosh. So that when children are taking other people's cups, many times they're not doing it on purpose. Like, I've never thought about that. And that girls develop that before boys do.
One morning.
So deep.
I'm an opener, so typically I open the front classroom until my kids come in, until somebody else comes in to cover that classroom. And there was a little girl that, I was there on lunch the other day, just kidding. And she like sat her milk down and like was like, where'd it go? Because it was right next to somebody else's. I was like, couldn't get up, so I couldn't hand her cup. But the other teacher was like, "Oh, here's your cup." Like she was confused, like she didn't know what to do because it was right next to somebody else's cup.
Like, and that's an example of how important it is for us as teachers of early childhood students not to learn the curriculum in college. And yes, that is important, but things like this, I mean, that children sometimes take drinks based upon a developmental thing, and we would be like, don't take that cup, and they're like, what did I do wrong? Wow. I'm not going to read all this off, but because my fear of literacy from way back in the day in college and Head Start, I'm serious. I still have a thing. But take a picture of this. This is phonological awareness. This is what it's really important for us to do, to send kids to kindergarten, and then they are ready to learn the science of reading. This is it. And I love that it says we can teach most of all of these things through games and songs. Apples and bananas, Willoughby Wallaby Woo, because we are saying those different digraphs. Well, I can't say these words, vowels and consonants. I can say those too. But what is that? Diphthongs? What is that?
The vowels connected, boy.
Oh, I like that better. It's vowels connecting, not diphthongs.
Two sounds. But it's not EA, that's one sound, but oi.
Oi.
The words that have those.
And doesn't that make so much sense that we would teach pre-K children oi and things like that, and then they get to kindergarten and it goes like it went. I mean, just boom. This stuff is really cool. Vivian, not right now, but I would love to know about Nate. About all of the children you have as kindergartners and how they are doing with reading versus past kindergartners. So think about that, and we'll talk about it next week. So yeah, Willoughby Wallaby Woo, an elephant set on you. And then I would say Willoughby Wallaby Wiki, an elephant set on Vicky, and you go through all of it. And apples and bananas, that's a great one. Oh, the other thing that is very important that we teach is that we increase their vocabulary. They say that it is more important and increased better through reading books aloud rather than having those complex conversations. But also adding new words every day. Hey, I'm going to introduce these children to the word gravity or, twinkle today. All right. These are, I'm not going to read through these, but I'm just going to tell you the things they say are priority for before kindergarten: rhyming and alliteration, singing and vocabulary, first sound awareness, syllable segmentation. That's the Melissa. When they're getting up to go wash their hands or whatever, you do their name in syllables. This will be posted in a couple of days if you need to go back and take pictures. There we go again. 2 or 3 step directions. So important. How to communicate wants and needs, knowing letter sounds and identifying their name. Older 4-year-old child could begin letter recognition. Just remembering that forcing a skill such as these before children are developmentally ready, and say, I saw a long time ago, this teacher's not even here anymore, so I can say this, but I saw her telling a 2.5-year-old when they tried to write a number, 23, I think it was, that is wrong. Look, he can write that number correct. Why can't you? That's what gives children the negative. Says, yeah, she's long gone. She's gone. She's gone a long time ago. But yeah, that's.
Well, it's just like potty training. Everybody's like, oh, no, why can't you do potty training? I'll never forget. I had a little girl, and I had her in the time she was not even 2, and she was in kindergarten. And her mom forced her to potty train. And at 5, she was still having accidents. So I always say, what would you rather do? Would you rather push it, or would you rather let them do it on their own, and then you're not going to have accidents as long?
That goes to potty training too, guys. Tara was saying.
Graduate high school wearing diapers.
Right. They will not graduate high school. Right. Unless you force it,
Andrea did. I was in the classroom by myself, and I asked Andrea had just walked in. Sorry, this is kind of off topic, but she just walked in, or she was getting ready to walk out, and I said, "Hey, do you care to take me off the bathroom? She needs to be changed." She was like, "Yeah." So she comes back, not even a couple of seconds later, and she's like, she's hollering she wants underwear. I was like, "Okay." Like, my child has only been potty training for 2.5 years, and it wasn't even my doing, so I can't take credit.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But like, if it wasn't for Andrea helping me, my child probably would have never been potty trained by the age of 5.
A lot of the times it's so natural too,
Yeah.
But this is a good one. If you want to take a picture of this is what Tara was talking about. If they can't do this shape, then they can't do that. So this is just what we want to make sure that age 2, they can imitate a vertical line. And I'm not going to read through all of them, but you'll notice a triangle. By age 5, they need to be doing X's and a triangle. Those are the basis of so many things they'll write in kindergarten.
Y'all probably did this, but like when I was in pre-K, we would make the letters like in the air with their fingers.
Making letters in the air.
With their hand. So like you can make a triangle with your fingers. You can make an X.
Shapes with your hand.
Just because it's reiterating that.
Yes, Miss Charlene.
I have a 3-year-old that, the other day I looked at their papers, even from coloring, to see what they had.
Yeah.
And above her, she was trying to write her name, and she had hearts. She did a bunch of hearts.
Yeah.
At the top and the bottom.
We're fixing to get to that. This child who, how old? 3?
3.
She was trying to imitate writing her name, and did a bunch of hearts at the top and the bottom. Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Pay attention to things like that. When they're doing their free art, scribbling, blank pieces of paper are so good to have. Some of these gifts I have here, you're going to have a lot of paper. Can't even see I've got to figure out this. I still haven't figured out Zoom. And how long have I been doing this? Oh, this is the foundation includes, this is writing. This is the reason that you guys are going to get 3 hours, because we're going to touch on this too. The foundation includes, to be a writer, strong core, strong neck, strong shoulders, then strong fingers. So as you look at that, you see a strong core and a neck develops when they're 1 to 2. And so that's why it's real important that those babies are not in the baby traps, but they are in the floor. If they cannot roll over, you are supervising them in the floor. And if they can't roll over, that's even more reason to sit down there and take them out of the seat and put them on the floor, let them kick. That's what develops a good rider. Isn't that crazy? The growing control your child has over their muscles in their hands. That's what is going to teach them how to be a good rider. And I have a child who did not build her hand muscles the way she was supposed to. And she's a horrible rider. Thank you. Okay, children under age 2, to get those kids ready to ride in kindergarten. You gross motor activities. I mean, just dancing, clapping. You guys were talking a lot about these things. The grasping at items, pulling. This right here, wrist turning, is such an important thing for children 0 to 2. The tummy time, soft items for squeezing, banging chunky crowns. Then we got about 18 months. We're starting to understand that the crown has some kind of connection to that mark on the page. Not fully understanding it, but then the bilateral coordination, which is what we've been bringing up all along about that milk thing. This is where our hands have to work together. That can be done, and it needs to be done daily. And that's got a lot to do with the toys you have in your room. But hand clapping, lacing cards, because you're holding it and pulling it. Your hands are working together. Throwing and catching a ball with 2 hands. Catching, hitting a ball with 2 hands. That's a really important skill, and sometimes kids don't get it. There's Bop It, Mr. Potato Head. Those would be more at home. Etch-a-Sketch, you can't use a Rubik's Cube at that age, but those are examples of what you would do to understand that bilateral coordination. Then you go up a year. This is where I told a story about Brindley last time I did this, where they're starting to understand that the paint or the marker and the page with the marks are related. And Brindley didn't have any paint on her hand, but she had connected that when a teacher puts paint on her hand, she can do that, and boom, a handprint will be there. So she was with a crayon, color in her hand, and she kept doing this, and she's like, why is it not doing it? And that's the beauty of childcare, is noticing things like that. And just remember, we've got sensory disorders out there, and you're going to have some kids that want to rub paint all over their body because they want sensory, and then other kids who are not going to put their finger in it. So just don't ever, scold them for that. That we've already talked about this, the promoting writing and 1.5 to 2.5, but ripping paper is a really good wrist building activity. You can go from tissue paper to a cardboard box. So if you're ever wondering what to do that week, rip cardboard boxes for those 3-year-olds. Play-Doh and moldables every single day. That is the number one thing that's going to build those hands. Model writing all day, making sure that when you write something, you say it out loud so they connect that her doing this must mean my name. That's the dictation part. You see that in assessments too, because it's so important that children learn, hey, tell me about your picture. No, oh, I love this. Oh, that's a cool house you drew. It's not a house, it's a spaceship. Doesn't it look like a spaceship? So you say, what do you say? Tell me about your picture. And then you write what they say, space, ship. And that makes that connection in their brain. 2 to 3, our scribbles are becoming controlled. You're going to start to see components of letters, just like you said. She's not doing her letters of her name, but she gets that concept because she's making shapes as her name. Never say, that's not your name. Those are hearts. It's part of the process. It's the development. They should be, but they should, at age 2.5 to 3, they should be doing art every day. There is that art, writing, things like that. That's what it is our job to do to get them ready. Okay, and then up until kindergarten, 3 to till kindergarten, there's a huge change here in writing and drawing. Before, they would just color and write and then say, look at my dinosaur. But at this age, they are going to start saying, I'm going to draw a dinosaur. And then they draw the dinosaur. So they're planning. And I love y'all know this, and then it's so cool to observe your kids and see it, You'll see more control in the writing. They're going to start using finger and thumb a little more than fist at this point.
I noticed the girls use their hands better than the boys.
Girls are using their hands better than the boys. Gosh, we talked about the COVID thing, and my sister-in-law, Andrea, which most of y'all know, said something that blew my mind the other day, and I had been just so upset over my 14-year-old. And she said, okay, so when COVID, for the 8th graders now, when COVID hit, the boys were in a very critical development phase. So they were very much affected. The girls had already went through that developmental phase and were not as affected. This is such a big difference in boys and girls. Okay, promoting writing in these pre-kindergarten children. I love these ideas. Start with the letters in their name, because that's what has meaning. You'll have the most success by working with things that are meaningful. I love this idea. Set up index cards in a little box and put it in your writing center, and they get to go pick out their name and recognize their friend's name. Such a great activity. Love this one even more. Word of the day or week. You take a word, whatever you want it to be, bat, cat, tape it down on the writing center, and leave your index cards, which you'll have in those bags over there, and have the children at circle time. Hey guys, today in the writing center, we have a new word. If you'd like, go write your word and you can bring it to me and I'll write your name on it or whatever. Just, you'll be shocked at how probably all of them will do it. All centers should be having little paper pads, like, so they can write down their orders and dramatic play and connecting this. Okay, we're sitting down, we have paper and blocks. I'm going to draw the house I'm going to build. Did you know that's what architects do? They draw it out and then they build it. Huge connections going in the brain right there. Having children sign in with the parents. Okay, I think this is almost the last slide. Really wanted to print this out for y'all, but I did not. So, I don't know, but see, I've got this stupid bar here. I'm going to move my bar, maybe. I'm not going to move my bar because I don't know how. See? Make the bar go white. Hide names. Hide video panel. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, y'all don't need that little top thing anyway, because it's drawing. Oh, wait, do they? Oh, I just want to say this. It's super important to recognize here, there are no ages written here. This is the process that a child goes through when they're learning to write. That might be at age 3, age 1, age 4. So this is the process you're going to see. And I think that it's super helpful to have that, because Miss Charlene, that your child that you were talking about is probably between of the letter-like forms or mock letters. So now the next thing that you're going to be looking for is letter strings.
Well, I think there was strings before, and then she had the.
Was she spacing them out like words? So that you're down here where she is recognizing that letters are made of words, and that they say when they start doing transitional writing, they're really getting it.
She did it at the top, like basically almost in a line, and then I didn't notice it at first because I always look at their art again.
Yeah.
And then she had it the same thing down at the bottom.
Hey guys, I want to read what Kyoto wrote. I don't know how relevant this is, but I've tried getting my kids to tell me what their drawing, open-ended, is, but they won't tell me. Is there any way I can coax them without persuading their view? Look at what age that these kids are. If they are age 3.5 to 5.5, but if they're any younger than that, they probably just not getting the whole symbolic thing yet. But Kyoto, if you want to message me about that, absolutely, we can talk about that. Okay. Oh, looky there. Tara is a go-getter. We've got copies of this page. I'll even try to form share it one day, but I'm still learning about this stuff. The number one thing I want y'all to walk away with is, we've talked about this with potty training, and I gave you an example of an old teacher. Just don't kill their self-esteem, and just do not judge what they're doing, especially if you don't know development, because it could be something that's completely developmentally appropriate and you're crushing them when you say, you didn't do that right. And they're like, oh my gosh, I gave the best I could. I suck. Sorry, I am not good. So just always practice that. Practice saying statements that will encourage them to write and encourage them to write again tomorrow. We don't want to be the ones that cause them not to. And thank you. I don't even want to know. Let's see. Oh, that's good. 1 hour, 7 minutes. Perfecto. So now to make this 3 hours, go back over all that stuff you wrote down, Google it, make lesson plans, whatever you want to do for the next 1 hour and 53 minutes, right? Okay. All right. I won't be putting credit in until sometime next week. So don't fret if you're not in TenPal, okay? And please remember, all you Zoomers, I do not need your name. I have it. I just need the ones who watch the recording later on. Don't need anybody's name from today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. There we go. Thank you. I got